Did Sammy Sosa just subtly accept the PED allegations? He didn't come right out and say it, but there was a sense that he acknowledged the scandal that overshadowed his career and kept him from the Hall of Fame. Crazy to think that after everything he achieved, one wrong turn with steroids cost him the recognition he might have deserved. Sammy Sosa, like many stars of the steroid era, spent years battling accusations of performance-enhancing drug use. He always denied it, even when he testified before Congress in 2005. But despite his incredible achievements on the field, that cloud of suspicion never really went away. And the worst part, it's had a massive impact on his Hall of Fame chances. Many believe he should be in, given his numbers and impact on the game, but the resistance has been strong. The controversy around him has fueled endless debates, with people split on whether players from that era should be judged solely on their stats or if their legacies should always carry an asterisk. Now, things have taken an interesting turn. Recently, Sosa made some statements that have people talking all over again. He admitted to making mistakes while trying to recover from injuries and maintain his strength, something many see as a subtle way of accepting that he used PEDs. It wasn't an outright confession, but it was enough to reignite the conversation about his career and legacy. After years of denying any wrongdoing, those words felt like a shift, a small but significant acknowledgement that there was more to the story than he had let on before. But steroids weren't the only thing that made Sosa's path tough. His exit from the Chicago Cubs in 2004 was messy. After years of being the face of the franchise, his departure was filled with tension, and for a long time, there was bad blood between him and the organization. The Cubs seemed to distance themselves from their former superstar, and Sosa, in turn, stayed away. It was a sad ending to what had once been a legendary run in Chicago. However, time has a way of healing wounds, and lately things have started to change. Sosa and the Cubs have been working to repair their relationship, and in recent years, there have been signs of progress. After a long period of tension between him and the organization, he has slowly started to reconnect with the team, even getting involved in some team activities again. For years, it seemed like a reunion was out of the question, as both sides remained distant and unwilling to move forward. Many believe that the fallout from his departure and the controversies surrounding his career had created a divide too deep to fix. However, time has a way of healing old wounds, and now there is hope that Sosa and the Cubs can finally find common ground. Steroid allegations are one thing, but Sosa's greatness is another. He was a player fans truly loved to watch. His impact on the game was undeniable, and no matter what controversies came later, his rise to stardom was incredible. His Major League Baseball story began on June 16, 1989, when he made his debut with the Texas Rangers. Wearing number 17, Sosa stepped onto the field as the starting left fielder and was given the important role of batting leadoff. It was a big moment for the young player, who had worked hard to reach the major leagues. He didn't waste any time making an impression. In one of the most memorable moments of his early career, he launched his first big league home run off Roger Clemens, one of the most dominant pitchers of that era. It was a remarkable achievement for a rookie facing such a legendary opponent. That home run was more than just a lucky swing. It was an early glimpse of the raw talent and potential that Sosa possessed. His combination of speed, power, and energy made him an exciting player to watch, and people quickly took notice. But his time with the Rangers was short-lived. Just a little over a month later, on July 29, 1989, Sosa was traded to the Chicago White Sox, along with Wilson Alvarez and Scott Fletcher, in exchange for Harold Baines and Fred Manrique. It was a move that changed the course of his career. With the White Sox, Sosa began to show glimpses of the player he could become, blending speed and power in an exciting way. In 1990, he put up solid numbers, batting .233 with 15 home runs, 70 RBIs, 10 triples, and 32 stolen bases. His speed made him a threat on the bases, and his power showed promise, but there were still areas of his game that needed improvement. He was aggressive at the plate, sometimes too aggressive, striking out 150 times, the fourth most in the American League. Despite the high strikeout numbers, it was clear that Sosa had the raw talent to develop into something special. If he could refine his approach and gain more consistency, he had the potential to become a star. The following season, Sosa got off to a thrilling start. In the early days of 1991, he made an immediate impact, launching 2 home runs and driving in 5 runs in just a few games. It seemed like he was ready to take the next big step in his career, and fans were eager to see what he could do over a full season. But baseball is unpredictable, and after that hot start, Sosa struggled to keep up his momentum. His batting average dropped to .203, and he finished the season with just 10 home runs and 33 RBIs, far below what was expected from a player with his talent. His struggles at the plate raised concerns about his ability to make adjustments, and some began to wonder if he would ever reach his full potential. His time with the Chicago Chicago Cubs began in 1992 when the White Sox traded him and Ken Patterson for outfielder George Bell. It was a fresh start, and though his first season with the Cubs was solid, batting .260 with 8 home runs and 25 RBIs, few could have predicted the kind of player he would eventually become. By 1993, Sosa was already showing flashes of his potential, hitting .261 with 33 home runs and 93 RBIs. But it wasn't just his power that stood out. His speed was just as impressive. He stole 38 bases that year, making him the first player in Cubs history to join the exclusive 30-30 club. Sosa continued to develop in 1994, adding more consistency to his game. His batting average improved significantly, hitting .300 while still delivering power with 25 home runs and 70 RBIs. His all-around performance made him one of the game's rising stars. The following year, in 1995, he earned his first All-Star selection. He played in 144 games that season, finishing with a .268 average, 36 home runs, and 119 RBIs. By 1996, he had fully established himself as one of the league's top sluggers, blasting 40 home runs with 100 RBIs. However, he also had a tendency to strike out, and in 1997, while he still produced with 36 home runs and 119 RBIs, his batting average dipped to .251, and he led the league with 174 strikeouts. Then came 1998, the year that changed everything. Sosa went from being a respected power hitter to a baseball icon. That season, he and Mark McGwire captivated the sports world with their thrilling chase of Roger Maris's single-season home run record of 61. Early in the season, McGwire had a big lead in the race, with Sosa trailing by as many as 16 home runs in May. But as the summer heated up, so did Sosa. On August 10th, he caught up to McGwire, tying him with 46 home runs. The two continued their historic battle, with McGwire ultimately breaking the record first on September 8th. Sosa wasn't far behind, hitting his 62nd homer on September 13th. As the season neared its end, the two sluggers were tied at 66 home runs with just 2 games left. Sosa finished the year with 66, just behind McGwire's 70, but the impact of their home run race went far beyond the numbers. It brought fans back to baseball after the 1994 strike and made Sosa a household name. That same season, Sosa posted career highs in batting average and slugging percentage, leading the league in RBIs and runs scored. His June performance was legendary. He hit 20 home runs, drove in 47 RBIs, and posted an eye-popping .842 slugging percentage. For his efforts, he was awarded the National League MVP, earning all but 2 first-place votes. The 1998 season also marked the Cubs' first playoff appearance since 1989, though they were swept in the NLDS by the Atlanta Braves. Sosa's heroics earned him widespread recognition. He and McGwire shared Sports Illustrated's Sportsman of the Year award. He was given a ticker tape parade in New York City, and he was even invited to attend President Bill Clinton's 1999 State of the Union address. Sosa proved in the following years that 1998 was no fluke. In 1999, he hit 63 home runs, once again trailing McGwire, who had 65. In 2000, Sosa led the league with 50 home runs, earning the Babe Ruth Home Run Award. Then in 2001, he made history, becoming the first player to hit 60 or more home runs 3 times. That season, he crushed 64 homers, but finished second to Barry Bonds, who shattered the record with 73. Still, Sosa put together one of the most dominant offensive seasons ever, setting personal bests in runs scored, RBIs, walks, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and batting average. He led the majors in total bases, runs, and RBIs, proving that he was more than just a home run hitter. He was a complete offensive force. He continued to be a top slugger, leading the league in home runs again in 2002 with 49. His consistent excellence earned him the Silver Slugger Award 5 times, first in 1995, then every year from 1998 to 2002. By 2003, the Chicago Cubs had become a true championship contender, winning the NL Central Division title and making a strong push in the playoffs. That season, however, was not without controversy. In June, during a game against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Sosa was caught using a corked bat. The discovery led to an immediate ejection from the game and later resulted in an 8-game suspension. The incident shocked fans and raised questions about whether he had used corked bats before to gain an unfair advantage. After the game, Major League Baseball tested several of Sosa's other bats, including ones he had donated to the Hall of Fame, and found no signs of corking. This suggested that the bat he used in the game was an isolated case. Sosa quickly apologized, explaining that he had accidentally grabbed a bat that was only meant for batting practice. He insisted that he had never used an illegal bat in a real game before. Despite his explanation, the controversy put a dent in his reputation, and some fans and critics began to question his past achievements. Despite the controversy, he still had a solid year, hitting 40 home runs and even adding 2 more in the National League Championship Series against the Florida Marlins. But the Cubs' playoff run ended in heartbreak as they lost the series in 7 games. By 2004, signs of decline were becoming more noticeable. His body was starting to wear down after years of playing at a high level. In May of that year, he suffered an unusual injury when a violent sneeze caused severe back pain, forcing him onto the disabled list. Despite missing time, he still managed to hit 35 home runs, but his overall performance was not the same as in his best years. His batting average and power numbers had dropped, and it was clear he was no longer the dominant force he once was. Even with his decline, Sosa's legacy as a power hitter remained undeniable. Between 1995 and 2004, he hit an incredible 479 home runs, the most by any player over a 10-year span in Major League Baseball history. His name was all over the Chicago Cubs record books, and he still holds the Major League record for the most home runs in a single month. But his time with the Cubs ended on a sour note. In the final game of the 2004 season, Sosa asked not to play and reportedly left Wrigley Field before the game even ended. This led to tension with the team, with different accounts of what happened. Sosa claimed he had permission to sit out, while manager Dusty Baker suggested there was a miscommunication. Regardless, the damage was done, and Sosa's legendary tenure in Chicago came to an unceremonious end. On January 28, 2005, they traded him to the Baltimore Orioles in exchange for Jerry Hairston Jr., Mike Fontenot, and Dave Crothers. The deal wasn't just about baseball, it was also about money. Sosa and his agent had to agree to waive the clause in his contract that guaranteed his 2006 salary, and the Players Union, which usually pushed back on such things, didn't object. That meant Sosa would earn $17.875 million for the 2005 season, but the Cubs still had to chip in $7 million of that. Even though he was no longer in a Cubs uniform, they were still paying part of his salary, a sign of how eager they were to move forward. When Sosa arrived in Baltimore, there was still some excitement. After all, he was a living legend, a player who had once been one of the most feared sluggers in baseball. He was also joining forces with another member of the 500 home run club, Rafael Palmeiro. This was a historic moment. Never before had 2 players who had already reached the 500 homer milestone played together on the same team. It seemed like a recipe for success, or at least for some serious power numbers. But things didn't go as planned. Sosa struggled at the plate like never before. His batting average plummeted to .221, and he managed just 14 home runs, his lowest total since 1992, back when he was still an unproven young outfielder trying to make a name for himself. The numbers told the story of a player in decline. Since his peak in the late 90s and early 2000s, his batting average, home run totals, RBIs, and total bases had been steadily dropping. This wasn't just a down year. It was a sign that the Sammy Sosa everyone had come to know was fading fast. By the end of the season, it was clear that Baltimore wasn't going to bring him back. On December 7, 2005, the Orioles officially decided not to offer him an arbitration contract, making him a free agent. Just like that, his time in Baltimore was over after only 1 season, and it was a forgettable one at that. There were no grand send-offs, no emotional goodbyes, just the reality that Sosa, once a superstar, was now struggling to find a team willing to take a chance on him. Even as his career was winding down, his legacy was still being debated. In 2005, the Sporting News published an updated version of their book, Baseball's 100 Greatest Players. The original edition, released in 1999, didn't include Sosa. At the time, he was still in the middle of his legendary home run chase and hadn't yet put together the kind of numbers that would demand inclusion. But by 2005, with his career stats significantly higher, he cracked the list at number 95. It was a recognition of just how dominant he had been, particularly during his prime years with the Cubs. For nearly a decade, from 1995 to 2004, Sosa was a model of consistency and power. He hit 35 or more home runs in 9 straight seasons, an incredible feat that put him in an elite class of sluggers. Even more impressive, he drove in 100 or more RBIs in each of those seasons, proving that he wasn't just swinging for the fences, he was producing runs and helping his team win games. It was a run of excellence that few players in baseball history could match. But by the time he left Baltimore, those days felt far away. Sosa was no longer the home run king who had captivated the world in 1998. His once unbreakable connection with the fans had faded, and teams weren't lining up to sign him. But then, the Washington Nationals made a move, offering Sosa 2 different minor league contracts. It was a chance for him to prove he could still contribute at the big league level, but to many people's surprise, Sosa turned both offers down. He wasn't interested in fighting for a spot in the minors. If he was going to return, it it had to be on his own terms. Then on February 15th, Sosa's agent, Adam Katz, made a statement that seemed to put an end to any speculation about his return. "We're not going to put him on the retirement list," Katz said, making it clear that Sosa wasn't officially walking away from the game. But he followed that up with a more sobering remark. "I can say with reasonable certainty that we've seen Sammy in a baseball uniform for the last time." It was a stunning moment. Just a few years earlier, Sosa had been one of the most feared sluggers in the game, breaking records and thrilling fans with his towering home runs. Now he was left without a team, seemingly fading from the sport he had once dominated. With no MLB team calling, Sosa turned his focus to other endeavors. That same year, he accompanied the Dominican Republic's president, Leonel Fernandez, on several diplomatic trips. The former slugger traveled to the United States, Japan, and Taiwan, stepping into a new role as a cultural ambassador for his home country. For a time, it seemed like Sosa had accepted his fate. He wasn't actively seeking a return to baseball, and his name had started to drift from the headlines. But then, in early 2007, an opportunity arose that changed everything. On January 30th, 2007, the Texas Rangers, Sosa's original team, offered him a minor league contract worth $500,000. Interestingly, this was nearly the same offer that he had turned down from the Nationals a year earlier. But this time, he said yes. It was a full-circle moment for Sosa, returning to the team that had first given him a shot at the big leagues almost 2 decades earlier. The contract included an invitation to spring training, where he would have to compete for a roster spot. He wasn't guaranteed anything, but he was willing to fight for one last shot at the majors. Spring training wasn't easy. Sosa was 38 years old, competing against younger, hungrier players like Nelson Cruz and Jason Botts, all of whom were looking to establish themselves. But Sosa put in the work, and by the time spring training ended, he had earned his spot. He would open the 2007 season as the Rangers' designated hitter and occasional right fielder. Sosa's return to the majors was already a compelling story, but it became even more dramatic when he reached a historic milestone. On April 26, 2007, he hit a home run in his 45th different major league ballpark, an impressive feat that underscored his longevity in the game. But the biggest moment of the season came on June 20th, 2007. In an interleague game against the Chicago Cubs, his former team, Sosa stepped up to the plate against pitcher Jason Markey. With one swing of the bat, he launched the 600th home run of his career, joining an exclusive club that included only Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Barry Bonds at the time. What made the moment even more poetic was that the Cubs had given Sosa's old number, 21, to Jason Markey, the same pitcher who had just served up his milestone blast. It was as if fate had written the script itself. With that home run, Sosa became the first player in history to have hit a home run against all 30 active MLB teams. It was a moment of validation, proof that he could still deliver on the big stage. Despite reaching the 600 home run milestone, Sosa's 2007 season with the Rangers wasn't enough to earn him another contract. Texas did not bring him back in 2008, leaving him once again without a team. On May 28, 2008, Sosa made an announcement that signaled the end was near. He told reporters that he had instructed his agent not to offer his services to any MLB team for the upcoming season. He was, for all intents and purposes, retired. However, he never officially filed retirement paperwork, leaving the door slightly open. Then on December 25, 2008, Christmas Day, Sosa surprised everyone by announcing that he intended to make a comeback. He wanted to play in the World Baseball Classic and use the tournament as a platform to show major league teams that he still had something left in the tank. He had been training at home, staying in shape, and truly believed he could still compete. But when the Dominican Republic finalized its roster for the World Baseball Classic, Sosa's name was nowhere to be found. He was left off the team. Without the exposure of the tournament, his chances of securing an MLB contract dwindled. He remained a free agent, but did not actively seek out a team. Finally, on June 3, 2009, Sammy Sosa made it official. He was retiring from baseball. He made the announcement in the Dominican Republic, bringing an end to one of the most fascinating careers in MLB history. Ever confident, Sosa made it clear that he believed his numbers were worthy of induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame. "I will calmly wait for my induction to the Baseball Hall of Fame," he said. "I know I have the numbers." There was no doubt that his statistics were impressive. 609 career home runs, multiple 60-plus home run seasons, and an MVP MVP award. But controversy surrounded his career, particularly in the wake of baseball's steroid era, and it was unclear how voters would view his legacy. No matter how you feel about him, there's no denying the impact he had on baseball. His big swing, his little home run hop, and the energy he brought to the game made him one of the most exciting players to watch. He helped bring baseball back to life in 1998, gave Cubs fans hope for over a decade, and became one of the biggest names in the sport. Of course, his career wasn't perfect. There were controversies, questions about steroids, the corked bat incident, and a rough ending with the Cubs. These things made his legacy complicated, and they're part of why he still isn't in the Hall of Fame. But even with all that, the memories he created will last forever. He hit over 600 home runs, played with passion, and gave fans plenty to cheer for. Whether he ever gets honored the way he hopes to be, only time will tell. And that's a wrap for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.